Hello, I am Iris from Iris Impressions Art and welcome to episode 3 of my Q&A series. In this episode, I am going to be talking about my equipment and some technical questions that you guys have asked me. Christine asks, I would like to know what kind of Cricut that was printing and cutting your stickers. I had a very old, probably first generation Cricut and gave it away. I might be tempted to get one that would hook up to a computer if I was sure it worked well. I have a Cricut Maker, which is the very expensive one. Oh my god, I just still I'm over it. I love the Cricut in terms of its hardware, in terms of what it can do. It is a very, very impressive and very powerful machine. However, would I recommend that you buy a Cricut? You have to be really dedicated to wanting to learn it and be able to deal with the frustrations that come with learning and using the software that comes with the Cricut. So you might have great ideas, and the ideas to make your machine do it are simple and straightforward, but the software itself is so incredibly frustrating and clunky that it makes the process very unenjoyable. And I have been at the point of wanting to send back my Cricut several times already. I have been at the point of wanting to throw it out the window out of frustration several times. And most of this is to do with either the software just acting very illogically because of the way it's coded, or things just not working the way they are meant to. So one day you might be cutting something and it works fine, and the next day you are cutting something and it is just like the software won't do what it did the day before. And that is something that I think people need to be aware of when they buy a Cricut, because it's something that I was aware of when I bought it, and I honestly thought, it can't be that bad. I'm a pretty technical person. I'm sure I'll figure it out, and I'm sure all these people are just whining and not very technical. It is really as bad as people say, and yes, I can figure things out because I'm very technical, but it is still very frustrating and very difficult. So I'm sorry if that wasn't the answer to the question that you were looking for, but be forewarned. You can make it work for you, but it's difficult. Amanda asks, I'm looking into making stickers myself. What type of sticker paper do you use? Is there a certain setting that you use on the Cricut to make the two different types of cuts? She means in the sticker sheets that I've got, where it kiss cuts the stickers and then it cuts outside on the outline. I'm new to Cricut and don't know all the ins and outs yet. The sticker paper that I use is from Online Labels. I will add a link in the description. I use the glossy sticker paper for my die cut stickers, and I use the matte sticker paper for the sticker sheets. I have a laser printer, so I always get all the paper that is suitable for a laser printer. Obviously, if you have an inkjet printer, do not get the laser printer paper. Some of it is usable for both, but I tend to get paper that is specifically for the type of printer that I use, because I do think it works better. Is there a certain setting that you used on the Cricut to make the two different types of cuts? It's a bit complicated, and I will link a video in the description by Catnip, whose video really helped me on how to make my sticker sheets and what settings to use. The long and short of it is that you make your Cricut make one cut for the kiss cut stickers, and then you make it make the same cut several times to cut out the sheet. Unfortunately, the Cricut does not have a setting to do two different types of cuts in the same session. So you can't say like, oh, cut only this deep for these outlines and cut deeper for that other outline. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Something that they should really add. Veronica Cruz says, can you talk about the ring light? What's the brand? Did it work? Would you recommend? Thanks. So my ring light, which looks like a big toilet seat, is from Newer, which is Newewer. I had a different one before, which I don't know the name of. It broke within several days, so I sent it back. And then I got this one. It's very difficult when you go on Amazon to find a kind of mid-budget ring light and know whether it actually works. If you look at the reviews, there will be so many people who say this is amazing, and there will be also lots of people who say this broke after 3 days. So it can be really, really difficult to know. Also, it can be really difficult to know what the connections are. Like, how does the camera actually connect? How does it connect to a tripod? That kind of thing. Because they don't tend to really show you that in the pictures. They just tell you the results that you can get with a ring light and not how it all works. So really, my best recommendation is to buy one and then just try it out, and buy it from a place where you can easily send it back if it isn't to the spec that you need. But this brand that I got, the Newer, has been working for, I don't know how long I've had it now, probably about a month, and it's been working fine. It's nice and bright. It's got 2 settings. It's got like a cool setting and a warm setting, or you can kind of overlap them and have something in the middle. It's really nice and bright. I'm able to do my filming even at night. I'm very happy with it as a concept. They are not cheap. This one was about £80, which if you compare them to professional ring lights that come in at about £250-300 and upwards, obviously it's very affordable, but as a outlay, I still thought it was quite, it was quite pricey. Oh, and this is an 18-inch one, which is huge, but the 14-inch one was a bit small, so I went for this one, and it's working for me. Alex asks, how did you start your art YouTube channel, and what were your challenges in the beginning? I still feel like I'm in the beginning. I started making videos maybe, when was that? 2008, I made a few videos when I started making art videos, but I never kept it up because there were too many inside critical voices and too much of a feeling of like people aren't interested, even though they blatantly were. So I don't know, like I just couldn't find the motivation. Unfortunately, kind of wish I could go back in time and just keep making videos from back then. Who knows what would have happened. But anyway, I'm making videos now, and the challenge to me is mostly perfectionism. It's never getting started because I feel like I can never make the video as good as I can imagine it in my head, and that's a real obstacle. It's really difficult. So that's my biggest challenge. I am not very daunted by technical challenges, so figuring things out with regards to cameras or setup or editing or things like that. I find those things difficult when they are difficult, but I don't find them challenging. They don't make me not want to do it or that kind of thing. So in terms of that, I've been all right. Another thing that I do find challenging about having a YouTube channel, and again, saying that I still feel like I'm a very new YouTuber, even though I've been making videos and have had a YouTube channel for a long time, I haven't really done it consistently very much, and that's something I'm trying to do now. So all the problems or challenges I'm experiencing now, I feel like they count as being at the start of it. One of the challenges I find is finding my audience. I know that you are all watching this, for which I am very grateful. Most of you, I think, come from watching my lessons on the different courses that I teach on, and you might be on my mailing list. How to get organic YouTube traffic, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not making the types of videos that the general YouTube public is interested in, and that is something that I might want to look into. I don't know. Mostly I just want to keep making the videos that I want to make and then find the correct audience for it, rather than pander to an audience by making videos that aren't really the type of videos that I want to make. So that's a challenge. A challenge of like staying on my own track and accepting that I'm not going to get necessarily 20,000 views, but I am going to get views from the people who really appreciate the videos, and then that's a really nice match. Other challenges of having a YouTube channel, I think it's a fear of trolls, fear of negative comments. I have had some in the past. I haven't had any recently. I mean, watch them come flowing in now, but it's just, I don't know. It's something that I fear more than something that happens. Obviously, when you're putting yourself out there, it's scary because people can comment. They can say like, oh, what are you doing? Or blah, blah, or you did this wrong or whatever. And that might echo something that I feel inside, which would be very painful. So I fear it and I kind of anticipate it. But luckily it doesn't happen much. So let's move on to the next section, which is personal questions. What does your husband do for a career? Does he work outside the house? My husband worked 12-hour days at his job. I don't work full time. I spend a lot more time at home than my husband. Why do I feel so guilty if I want to take time to do art? There's a house to clean and chores to do, and if I don't do them, guilt, guilt, guilt. I wondered how that worked in your household. This is a question by Carolyn. Carolyn, thank you very much for this question. It's a very juicy question. So, firstly, the practical answer. My husband, what does he do? He's a filmmaker. Does he work outside the house? Only when he's filming outside the house, which isn't that often at the moment. We run a small event filming company together and have done since 2006. I do the admin side of it, which is not a lot of work at the moment, which is bad from the one point of view, but good from the point of view that I get to spend a lot of time on my art and my kind of art peripheral things like making videos. And like, what is the balance like? And you're talking about that guilt of doing things for yourself, when you're at home and when somebody else is, doing their job. And it's such a difficult thing. So me and my husband, we have quite a good balance in terms of like what we do with the kids and what we do around the house. I mean, I do more of the cooking and the cleaning, and he does a lot more of the working, but it feels like a balance. It feels fair. When it comes to like things with the kids, like bedtime routines and taking them out or doing things with them, it's pretty balanced, and it feels fair. And I think that's really important. It isn't about like, oh, I do the dishwasher this many times a week and you need to do the dishwasher the same amount of times a week and then it's fair. No, it's about whether it feels fair. And I think that is a constant kind of adjusting. You might have a kind of a routine going somewhere and that just works. I do the laundry, he does all the recycling and like the rubbish and stuff, that kind of, it feels right. And then there are other things that might have to be adjusted, especially when situations change, like lockdown, quarantine, all of a sudden everybody's at home. I mean, we were at home anyway, so because we work from home. But, the dynamics can change, and it's important to kind of adjust as you go. Guilt. I would suggest that isn't actually guilt. I think that the word guilt gets used a lot when we talk about a feeling of persecution. I think guilt would be a genuine feeling badly because you haven't done something or aren't doing something that you really feel like you want to do or have a desire to do in order to do things well. So rather than things that you aren't doing that somebody else might think badly of, that is a sense of persecution rather than actual guilt. And I think being aware of the difference between them can really help you kind of understand how you're feeling and where it's coming from and whether it's something that you want to act on. So the kind of like the mom guilt that is very kind of it's a real reality in our society, and especially as mothers and especially as women, and by which I mean all women. It's really easy to get sucked into that feeling. What purpose does that feeling serve? For me, that feeling of like, oh, there's 100 other things that I should be doing, the word should, and people expect things of me, and I can't like just leave the laundry is just out of shot over there, by the way. I can't leave it because I have to have it all done before I deserve to even do something else. It's about examining those assumptions and kind of like, what does it serve? Is it really about wanting to do your best, or is it about making sure that somebody else thinks well of you, or is it about avoiding something that part of you wants to do but part of you is scared of? So that's the thing for me quite often. If I get too into like, oh no, the kitchen needs to be cleaned, I can't do the painting thing until the kitchen's clean, that's usually because I am avoiding something. It isn't really about the cleanliness of the kitchen. My kitchen could always do with a clean, but art is something that I need to prioritize. So I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit rambly about this. I probably should do like a dedicated video about this and like get my thoughts a little bit more straight. But yeah, kind of understanding where the thinking is coming from and what is it serving and what does it mean and what are you afraid of. Those are those are some interesting kind of questions to ask yourself. Right, Nicole asks, how long have you lived in England, and did you grow up speaking English because you have no Dutch accent? I bet I read that in like the most Dutch accent ever. But thank you very much for saying that, Nicole, that I don't have a Dutch accent. That's like really high praise for me. How long have I lived here? I have lived here since I was 18. After I graduated from secondary school, I applied to university in England, and I moved here, and I never moved back. And did I grow up speaking English? I did and I didn't. So my mum was quite international, so I heard a fair bit of English as I was growing up. And then when I was 12 and I went to secondary school, I went to a bilingual school. So it was a school where 60% of the lessons were given in English, rather than just like a normal Dutch secondary school where you would have English as a subject. I did have English as a subject as well, but I also had my lessons like biology and art and drama and whatever. Those lessons were in English, whereas some other lessons were in Dutch, like maths was in Dutch. I think it depended on which on which teachers spoke English well enough. But I don't necessarily think I don't have a Dutch accent. I do and I don't. My accent is just a strange, weird mix of mostly like American and British English combined. Weird. Pretty Eyes and Things asks, can you follow me? I'm a female artist too. That's an interesting question. I want to bet that Pretty Eyes and Things is not actually watching this video, but I do want to address this question of, can you follow me? Because that wish of people following you is a big thing, and I experience it too. There are people out there whose art I really admire, who I really admire as people, and I wish they would follow me. Can I make them? No. Would I follow people who ask me to follow them? No, because I am really very strongly of the opinion I need to drink that you should follow people that you want to follow. You should follow artists and other people online whose content you really want to see in your feed. And so I am very careful with my feed. My feed is very tightly curated. I don't follow loads and loads of people because I want my feed on Instagram to really inspire me. And so when I'm scrolling down, I want to see stuff that makes me feel inspired and alight and makes me feel things. So that is how I choose who to follow. And I would really encourage everyone to do the same. Like, make sure that whoever you follow is someone that you would genuinely be happy to see, because I think we spend a lot of our time on social media, I do at least, and you can get really sucked in. And I used to follow a lot more people. I would follow people pretty indiscriminately. I would follow people back if they followed me. I would follow people because I felt like I should, because they were big artists or big names. At a certain point, I went through my feed and I deleted everyone whose art either I didn't resonate with or whose art made me feel inadequate. And obviously that's my stuff, but it's also my feed. So it was really important that the art inspires me and makes me strive to be better or do better, but doesn't make me feel like I'm not doing well or I feel jealous or that kind of thing. I just get rid of it because I'm curating my own experience. So I think that's really important. And but also what I want to say is that it's when you are making your art and you want to get your art out there, it is very valid, natural and okay to want followers. And it is very natural and okay to go out there and to see if you can find followers. I don't think the best way is to say, can you follow me? It doesn't really lead to things. But if if there's people out there who do similar art to you and you think that they might like to see your art, then just, strike up a conversation with them, genuinely interact with them, and then maybe they'll notice your art and follow you. That might happen. Nicole asks, does creativity run in the family? I would say yes, it does. So my mum was a civil engineer. She studied architecture, and I remember she used to be very creative. Like, she would do photo albums and stuff, and she would do little sketches and stuff. Like, not loads, but she just kind of was a fairly creative person. She was very good at drawing as well. And my aunt does photo albums and does lots of creative things. You know, I think, you know, my grandmother and my mom and my aunt, they were of the generation of doing lots of like, knitting and crocheting and cross stitching and that kind of stuff. So there was definitely that kind of creativity around as I was growing up. And my mum was a musician. She played the clarinet and the saxophone, and she was pretty good at it as well. So there was that type of creativity, and I think that's been a huge influence on like my musicality and my love for music, and why I used to play instruments and why I'm in a choir now. And then obviously my husband's a filmmaker, so he's pretty creative, and my kids are really creative too. And I think it isn't something necessarily that you're born with. It's just something that you cultivate, like you latch onto the things that you're interested in. So all the people that I have mentioned are creative in their own way. So my youngest Zephyr, he loves drawing and he loves sketching, and he's recently got into making a bit more digital art as well with the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. So he likes to draw things, whereas Jupiter, my 9-year-old, he's much more into creativity with software. So he wants to learn coding and that kind of thing, and he likes writing as well. So everybody is doing their own creative things with enthusiasm, and I kind of feel like if that's encouraged, then people can kind of like really explore their creativity in whatever way. There's so many ways in which you can be creative, and I'm really excited to see that. Bettina asks, where did you grow up? Well, so I am from the Netherlands, which is a word that I cannot pronounce very well. And I grew up in Rotterdam, which is where I lived for 18 years. Yeah, I really, really love Rotterdam. I didn't back then when I lived there, but I do now. It's such a wonderful place. It's such an interesting place. It's so multicultural. I'm really glad to have grown up in Rotterdam. I also lived in Indonesia for a very short amount of time, when I was 1, when I was 4, and I was 5, so 3 separate occasions, and that had a very big influence on kind of, I don't know, just on my life. It was a very big experience, and I went to school there for a while, to a Dutch school, where I have very good memories of. That's where I grew up. That was the final question. So we went through all of them. I really hope you enjoyed this little peek into, me. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.